aquel hombre se encontraba.
Welcome to the Mr. Boxing Guru podcast. It is me once again, Sal Salvador, Mr. Boxing Guru. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. Big shout out to Los Anayas for getting me that great intro. That's Los Anayas, Losanaya. You can listen to wherever good music are heard, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. Make sure you guys, I think they got about 2-3 songs out there already, so take a listen to them. As far as this podcast goes, just a quick housekeeping tip. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment anywhere from YouTube. Make sure you guys subscribe there. On Spotify, make sure you save them as your podcast. On iTunes as well, make sure you guys subscribe. Again, give me all the feedback you guys can give me. I'm here for you guys, so any type of feedback really works. Again, lots to talk about today. We got JRock versus Hurd, Navarrete versus Dogbo, Berchelt versus Vargas, and some other things that are happening in boxing. So let's make sure we get it and we get it going. First things first, JRock beats Hurd and becomes a unified junior middleweight champion. Man, what a fight. You guys know I'm not the biggest fan of PBC, but when something like this happens, a special fight happens, you have to give it credit, especially when things don't go the exact way they're supposed to. When you actually get to sit back and enjoy being a boxing fan. This year, I don't think we've had that many moments. I think most of the fights, the favorite or the house guy has won. In this case, both JRock and Hurd are both PBC fighters, but we know who's favorited over the other a little more. JRock is a more open-minded fighter, at least from what I see on the social media. He's open to watching boxing on all type of platforms, so I see him as not a brainwashed guy that's strictly PBC or like guys that are strictly Golden Boys, guys that are strictly Top Rank. He's a well-rounded individual that just enjoys the sport, so kudos to him. But let's talk about his fight. He wasn't supposed to win. If we remember correctly, I think it was about 2 years ago, he had his opportunity and a crack at the junior middleweight title, and that was versus Charlo, one of the Charlo brothers. That didn't go his way. He ended up getting knocked out in a dramatic fashion. Again, I don't think him losing was the what caught people from surprise is the way he lost. The kid got brutally knocked out. He looked out of place. He looked way out of his league. But not Saturday night. On Saturday night, he looked the part. He stayed in there. He fought a very intelligent fight. He didn't get bullied by the bully. And we all know that a guy like Hurd likes to get in there, just beat you up, push you back, and whoop your ass. And that's not what happened. He stood in the middle of the ring. He was able to counter Jared and make him pay for every single thing he made. I don't think Jared, I don't think he moved his head all fight. He was very stationary, and I'm not critiquing him for that, but I'm just saying it made for a better fight than again. Usually you get your swag fighters moving around a lot, chin up in the air and just throwing a jab from like it looks like a quarter mile away. It was a very entertaining fight, very great fight for the fans. I think regardless of what flag you wave, what pom poms you wave, you got to sit back and enjoy these type of fights. This is what boxing is all about. I personally enjoyed it. I watched it a couple of times already, and I can't get enough of it. So kudos to both JRock and Hurd. Now, where do both of these guys go after this? I mean, JRock, look, I think I'm guessing he would want to be the undisputed champ, but I don't think that's an option with Golden Boy having a piece of that with Munguia. But the fact of the matter is, why not another Charlo fight? Did he develop himself into a better fighter to try to fight the other the other junior middleweight guys in within PBC, because we know PBC doesn't get out of PBC. Does he end up going to middleweight and challenging trying to fight at middleweight? I mean, what does he do? I don't know. The sky's the limit for him. I see the rematch happening sooner than later. Hopefully, he bests Hurd again. But man, what a fight! What a fight! I'm still in awe. Again, these are the type of fights that make you enjoy boxing. Most of the fights we had this year so far, we know who was going to win at the end. And if the favorite guy didn't win in your eyes, somehow he won on points. So, and that goes for all the fights, from the zone, from PBC to Matchroom to Top Rank. I mean, the house guys won. This one, again, even though they're both the house guys, I mean, we know which one was favored over the other. A lot of people did, assume that JRock was going to get starched. I myself thought, it was only a matter of time, but he didn't, and that's why this win has to be so special for the guy. But yeah, let's move on. From Tucson, Arizona, on ESPN and ESPN Deportes, we had Navarrete taking the dog out of Dog Bay. He ended up stopping Dog Bay. Actually, Dog Bay's dad ended up, waving the flag and not a minute too soon or too late, I guess you could say. The fight should have been stopped a lot sooner. Dogba was way in over his head. Again, so much for the talk that it was a fluke, that Dogba didn't train right, that he was going to do this, he was going to do that. The fact of the matter is, Navarrete really is the real deal. Showed great account of himself and shows that he's a force to be reckoned with. Now, what does he do next? Does he fight? Does he fight? Does he stay at the division? He looks a little big. In my opinion, he's a little big for the division. I think he's going to end up vacating the belt, within a couple of maybe one or two fights. But we will see. We will see. But let's talk about the main event. Now, the main event was Berchelt versus Vargas, and Berchelt ended up stopping Vargas. Vargas does not continue in the 6th round. The great Joel Diaz stopped the fight. Now, look, as far as the fight goes, the fight was fun. You got what you wanted. It was a brutal fight from beginning to end, and Vargas really held his own, but it almost seemed like the punches weren't as effective, I guess you could say, as the way Berchelt's were. Berchelt's were very thudding punches, and in my opinion, this was almost an unnecessary fight. It was yet another fight that Vargas had absolutely no business in. And let me get to why, because I've been following Vargas' career for a while. Vargas was being moved very, very carefully, I guess you could say, the way a fighter honestly should. That way a fighter gets released into the hounds once he becomes a champion, and even then, there are certain fights that are picked at a certain time. That way, they help develop certain skills on these fighters. In my opinion, I thought Vargas' opponents were picked very carefully for him to be able to not so much get to the belt, but develop into a great fighter. And he was a hell of a little fighter as he was coming up. You got to understand, especially towards the later part of his career, when right before he was a champion, they gave him Abner Cotto. They gave him Juanma Lopez. And even what was his name? Will Tomlinson, when he fought for the little Chicle belt right before he fought for the belt. Now, he had everything set up to be a champ. Everything was set up. I'm talking about his very last fight before he became a champ was Will Tomlinson, and he went, and everything was set up for him to fight, and then I don't know what happened. I believe it was like a switch in management, and there goes Vargas, and he goes and takes the championship fight which was versus Miura, again, which is a given because he was being ranked. He was the number one guy. He's fighting the guy with the belt. That was one of Canelo's undercards. Now that fight was, when these fighters get an opportunity to fight for a belt and they're physically primed and they actually get that shot, they go for it. That's what Vargas did. That actually was the plan. That's what he was developed for. He fought the fight. It was a back and forth fight. It was a fight where Vargas was hurt, almost out on his feet, and he somehow pulled it off, and he ended up beating, if I'm not mistaken, knocking out Miura. Now, win or lose, that was one of those fights that really takes a lot out of a fighter. Again, most fighters' dream is to win that belt. So at this point in his career, when Vargas fought Miura, he had made his dream come true. He became a champ. But again, at the same time, this fight took a lot out of Vargas. So what does this new team do? They say, you know what? Let's take a optional fight, because that's what happens when you win a belt. You have the ability to not fight the mandatory, but to actually fight fighter of your choice. Of course, as long as the commission says it's okay. So what fighter does this team decide to fight? None other than the boogeyman himself in Orlando City Salido. So instead of fighting, nice the Rod Saukas of the world, and getting the kid just something to move around with. No, that's not the case. Even if his face looked like shit after the Miura fight, let's get him one of the toughest son of a bitch. Let's go and get Salido's daddy. I'm not Salido's daddy. I'm sorry, Lomachenko's daddy, and let's give him to this kid. And in that fight, what ended up happening? You got another fight of the year. Again, the Miura fight was a fight of the year, but so was the Salido War, a fight that arguably, in my opinion at least, Vargas lost. And it ended up being a draw. Again, one of those fights that honestly take the life out of you. I mean, again, these type of fights, again, I always go back to the Miura fight. They take a little. You're just not the same after fighting that type of grueling fight. That type of physical damage that your face takes. You're not the same fighter. So what happens again? They go back and take the City Salido fight. Another fight of the year. Great. That's great for me. That's great for you guys listening. That's great for boxing, but not so much for the fighter. The fighter dies a little inside. And that's exactly what happened there. So what does him and his team do after this? You know what? Let's go and get another fucking monster. So he fought Salido to a draw. So let's go fight another unnecessary career altering. I'm sorry. Fight. Let's go and fight a Berchelt. And what? In an empty fucking arena in Indio, California. A lot of people didn't know who Berchelt was. Berchelt, from a lot of us that actually got to see a bit off of him, we know he was a monster. We know he can hurt you with both hands. But they ended up taking the fight regardless. What happens? The Berchelt, the young stud, gets there, whoops his ass, and that's all she wrote. That's, again, all she wrote. So what happens after that? I think finally their conscience start kicking in, and you say, you know what? Maybe we do give him a easy fight. He just fought. He fought Miura. He fought Salido. After that, again another monster. Now he fought Berchelt, another young stud, up and coming stud. So maybe we scale it back a bit. Maybe give Bandido some time off. You pretty much give him the whole year for his face to kind of get reconstructed like in Botch, and we give him a soft touch. So again, he fought Berchelt in January. Then he fights again. He doesn't fight again till December of that year. Then he gets again soft touch. Bandido ends up winning that fight, and of course, then after that he fights the walking meme of boxing, which is Rod Salka. And if you guys remember correctly, Rod Salka walked in with the with the build the wall trunks or whatnot. It's kind of hilarious because Bandido ended up whooping his ass. But again, we all know Rod Salka because he's a walking meme, because he was the guy that Danny Garcia picked, cherry picked, and I think that's where Danny Garcia's whole cherry picking game was at his ultimate high. So they finally do right by Bandido and give him a softer touch, and that was again about a year ago, just a little over a year ago. And again, they let his face again heal. Do whatever plastic surgery I'm guessing he needs because his face gets really, really bad. But again, what does management do again? They give him the toughest fucking fight ever again. Why? You know what? Because we didn't get beat up enough in the first fight. Let's go ahead and fight Berchelt one more time. And what that ended up happening is that Berchelt did what he was supposed to do. Berchelt put his hands on him. He beat the shit out of Bandido for 5 rounds. In the 6th round, the only man that was in Team Vargas apparently with a fucking conscience, which was Joel Diaz, said, you know what, this is it. You gave it your all. There's nothing that he can do to send out his soldier and make some sort of good fighter or bust out the Hail Mary. There's no way of calming this train that is Berchelt out. So he called the fight. That one guy, that to me it's one of the most beautiful stoppages I've ever seen. There was no need to continue to see the fight. You were just getting to see a one-sided beatdown. If you really look at it and you go back and look at this fight again, you saw one-sided beatdown that was not. It just wasn't worth watching. It was very painful in the eyes. Again, rewatching it again and watching what's been of a great career from a very crafty little fighter in Vargas. I personally been a fan of his for years. It's sad that it's gotten to this point. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I invest too much in a fighter, but I really wish him well. Personally, I want to thank Joel Diaz for stopping that fight, and I want to thank Vargas for such a great career. I wish he would have done better moves to extend his career. I think he would have been a great champion for many, many moons. But he decided his own faith, and he dared to be great. And fighters like this, you could tell how much they really have, and kind of sucks that it ended this way. But again, thank you, Bandido Vargas. Thank you, Joel Diaz, for stopping that fight. It was more than I really cared to see. But again, kudos to them. And then at the end of the day, as a boxing fan, I enjoyed the beating again to a certain extent. But great fight weekend. Let's take it on to some news and notes. What else happened in this boxing? I mean, let's see what else did I see on Instagram. The unfortunate death of Harold Letterman. Harold ended up passing over the weekend, if I'm not mistaken. And if you guys don't know who Harold is, he is probably the most recognized voice from HBO boxing. He was the unofficial judge, I guess, for HBO boxing, and he was that voice that you heard that said, "Back to you, Jim." And it almost, and I think most of us remember him because I know a lot of us that geek out over watching fights, not only watching fights but sitting back and scoring the fight. And if you somehow had your scores and the align with Letterman, you felt like a badass, like you know it all. You're a hardcore boxing head and whatnot. Um, but I think he's that voice more, even more than Lampley, I would say, that you recognize that you couldn't wait to hear that in between rounds. What did he have to say? Even if he disagreed with Kellerman or Lampley or Roy, he had his own twist, and there was a reason why he scored the fight towards a certain fighter and whatnot. He had this infamous scorecard when Floyd fought Castillo when he had Castillo winning. Um, but he was really just an all around great guy. From the stories that I hear from the people that really got to hang out with him, I didn't have the privilege. I think it was dinner with him once. It was just a group of us, so I couldn't really get a one-on-one time with him. But a lot of people that really had that intimate moment with him say that he was a gem, and really one of the good guys has gone. Um, Canelo actually was advised of his mandatory fight by the what is it, IBF. If in my opinion, if I were the IBF, I'll chill the fuck out a little bit, because let's be honest, what happened with the WBC last time? Last time Canelo got a little pressure. He went and fucking dumped their fucking belts and then went on about his business. Now, does IBF want to go that route, or do they just want to chill and just make their commission? I think at this point, the WBC knows not to fuck with Canelo, and I think the IBF should do the same and just chill. Let him fight and pick who he wants to fight at any given time. I think that the goal is to unify the belts, and I think that's probably going to be best for everyone involved. As far as this weekend, we actually have fights tomorrow. Well, today, if you guys are listening to this on Thursday, I think we got Golden Boy, DAZN-ish fights. They're sponsored by DAZN, but they're not going to be on DAZN. They're going to be on their YouTube channel or on Ring TV Live or on Golden Boy's Facebook page. So I think Romero Duno fights. Manny Robles fights, Carlos Morales fights, Genaro Gomez fights, all career building fights. So I'm not gonna dwell on it. Blah blah blah. You guys should watch it. Look, watch it if you guys want, but you guys know what these guys are about. I kind of stopped reading when I saw that the younger the Garcia's fighting Ryan's little brother. So and I saw TBA. So that enough said with that. So yeah, make sure you guys watch that if you guys have a little time on Thursday. The fight of the weekend is actually from the Barclays Center in New York on Showtime. Wow, Showtime finally is putting on something other than women boxing. But from Showtime, Wilder versus Brazil. Look, man, Brazil's a good guy. I like him a lot. I like his PR folks. But let's be honest. There's a lot of shit that's been brewing about this. A lot of comments that have been going around about this. We know that Brazil left his career trainer. I think he started training with Manny Robles since before he turned pro, right before the Olympics, if I'm not mistaken. And then he went up north. Forgot what's his name? Andre Ward's trainer, whatever his name, the creepy guy. And he's training up there. Wilder, something about Wilder that personally scares the shit out of me. I just heard an interview talking about. He said something, and again, don't quote me on this, but something about he has a job. He has a job where it's okay to take someone's life, and if he has that privilege, why not go for it? Something around those terms. So a person that openly talks like that and to go on record, not just you bullshitting with your friends over here, but to go on record and say stuff like that's some. I get it, it's the reality, but to speak it, that's some creepy shit. In my opinion, that's some creepy shit. I think this fight is gonna end bad. I have a feeling that that Brazil's not going to want to go down when he is supposed to go down, and and he could end up dramatically hurt by a guy like Wilder if he continues. Because in my opinion, Wilder's gonna go for it. He's gonna try to whoop his ass. He's gonna embarrass him. And Brazil's gonna be that type of guy that he doesn't want to get embarrassed because of the previous beef. There has wives have been pushed, insulted, or whatnot. Brothers have been fought with. There's all this type of shit that goes on that's gone on with those two that I think is gonna somebody's gonna get hurt. It's one of those fights that's great as a fan, but personally, I think someone's gonna end up with brain damage, and fortunately, that's gonna be the Olympian Brazil. I have it by fifth round stoppage. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's a great fight, but I just think it's gonna be a brutal ass whooping, and it's gonna be ass whooping with ill intentions. Now back to the portion of the show that I love, because this is the portion of the show where I get to ask on Instagram. I get to go and just whatever question you guys have. So this is the point where I go and reach for my phone and answer people's questions. First things first, from my man Pound for Pound Vic. Thoughts on and he asks thoughts on Mikey going straight to Danny Garcia. Personally, he says, I think he loses, and I think he should take an easier fight and maybe try to prep himself up for 147. He doesn't belong at 147 pounds. Vic, I completely agree with you. I don't think this. Look, when the fight with Spence, Mikey asked me to my face, do I like that fight? I said absolutely not. Up to the very end, I think Mikey convinced me at the very end that he should take that fight. But the fact of the matter is, I didn't think it was a good fight for him to take. Versus Danny Garcia. Look, people talk shit about Danny Garcia, say he's flat-footed, he's this, he's that. Danny can counterpunch the shit out of you. He's a great fighter. Look, a guy that did what he did to Prime Matisse and has been able to conserve himself throughout the last 3-4 years to still be a what I consider an elite 147 pounder, even with his awkwardness. I think he's a real threat, and I think he could crack. He has dynamite in those hands. So personally, I wouldn't want Mikey to take that. At this point, it's apparent that it would be a money grab, and I get it. They're prize fighters. That's what they're supposed to do. Go for the biggest money bag. But I don't think it's doing himself any justice. And he's playing right into PBC hands, because, I mean, that's just what PBC does. Let's see who else says. Beto Visión actually asked, when am I going to be a guest? Beto, like I said before, I said that I was going to give myself 6 months to get ready, get the right equipment. I haven't bought any new equipment, so 6 months in, I think I made a promise to you that you would be my first guest, and I intend on keeping that. Let's see, who else? Yeah, again, there's more questions about Mikey. My man Kiko Valderas asks, and he says it in Spanish, and I'll translate it right now. It says, ¿Por qué hay tantas envidias y egos culeros en el boxeo? He asks, why are people so envious and so many egos and assholes in boxing? I personally think it's a very crude sport. And I'm gonna answer first in Spanish. Obviamente el boxeo es un poco rudo. La mayoría del boxeo lo corre o lo maneja alguien que no fue a la escuela, alguien que no fue educado. Entonces se maneja en una manera un poco salvaje. Por lo menos entre se podría decir, el manejador y el peleador. Las envidias, desafortunadamente, a veces uno de mexicanos es nuestro peor enemigo, parecemos cangrejos, no podemos dejar que uno suba hacia arriba, porque ya se quiere uno chingar al otro, porque no, ese cabrón, si ese cabrón puede, yo lo puedo hacer más chingón, yo soy más chingón que ese güey. Um, y desafortunadamente nunca aprendemos, llevamos décadas haciendo lo mismo y las mismas pendejadas siguen pasando. So again, Kiko Valdero's question is, why are we so envious? Why is boxing pretty much full of haters and envious people and assholes? What I was telling him is that boxing is pretty much a poor man's sport. I don't think a lot of people, including myself, are very educated when it comes to it. So we tend to hate on each other. We tend to say, "Oh, fuck that guy. Whatever the fuck he doing, I could do that shit better." That's why I think a lot of times boxing can progress. I think again when it comes to the fighters, again a lot of fighters don't have. I mean, they can't even read on a third grade level. A lot of the managers, again, it's usually the father, or they find a sleazeball crypto coin investor that's out there, and then they try to get him to help out, but it's not an educated person, not a person with character, with great moral instinct. They're not good people for the most part. Again, there's always an exception, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's not. We're just assholes to each other because we're not very educated, unfortunately, and we tend to hate on each other. Again, especially the Mexican community. I told them we're like crabs in a bucket. We try to step on each other to move on up, just to end up in the same hole. Um, that's just the way it works, and boxing is pretty bad that way. Let's see who else. Again, Mikey Garcia. People are asking a lot about Mikey Garcia. Is he cashing out? Fabian Gonzalez did ask something different here. Let's see. Do you think Crawford should have split from Top Rank and go without in order to get the top welterweights fights? Is it damaging his career by not taking the top 147 pounders? This is a very tough one because, look, I believe Top Rank is if not the premier boxing promoter, is one of the best boxing promoters out there. If you're a young fighter, you want to get a career build, you go with Top Rank. That's who's going to build you. That's who's going to help you with your marketability. They're going to put you in great platforms, and you're going to be able to perform at a better rate, I guess, than most. And again, that's for the most part. They have a great eye for talent, and so again, that's another key that they might be a little better in that route. But in my opinion, as a fighter, if I was a fighter, yes, I would go to Top Rank to develop myself into a fighter. Look, I'm not going to get the biggest fucking paydays, but at the end of the day, I'm going to become a legend. I'm going to become a name. I'm going to become a Hall of Famer at some point. But at some point, you have to make the decision whether you stay for the money or you stay for the somewhat legacy. In Crawford's case, he seems to be in a lose-lose situation. Yes, he's making money. Don't get me wrong. Crawford's making a lot of money. The deal that he has with Top Rank enables him to live a very comfortable life. I'm sorry, but the fact of the matter is that Top Rank is out there scrambling for opponents, trying to find someone suitable for him. They had to find Khan and resurrect him from his many deaths in the ring, and it ended up leaving everyone with a sour taste in their mouth because it was a pay-per-view, and two, it looks like Khan got hit in the knee or something, and he called it a low blow. Nonetheless, this point at this one, I mean, as far as legacy wise, I have to agree with you. Maybe going to PBC would have been the best route financially. I don't know. But as far as legacy, getting a chance to fight all those guys, just like Mikey is. I mean, at some point, if he does fight Garcia, now that he fought Spence, he's fighting, he's staying busy, he's making a lot of money. Would have been better if he stayed with Top Rank. Compare those two. Where would Mikey be with Top Rank right now? Look at the amount of money that Mikey's made without fighting the fights that he wants to fight, becoming multi-divisional champion. I don't know. Personally, for Crawford, I think it hurts me to say, but it wouldn't be a bad idea if he would have jumped ship. Yes, he should have gone out. And let's see, Jay Montes asks, are people boxing fans or Canelo cheerleaders? A little bit of both. You got to understand, boxing depends on these people. Jay Montes, you're a hardcore boxing fan. That's you. That means you're going to be a little more open. You're not necessarily a Canelo fan. You're a fan of boxing. A lot of people, you remember, you got to have someone to look out for. You have to have that superstar. That's what Canelo does. Canelo brings that casual fan or that non-boxing fan, and he makes him a fan just because they want to see him win. He's a good-looking kid. Just looks different, and he brings that attention. And yes, they could be cheerleaders, but unfortunately, we need those people to see the sport get bigger. We need those people to fill out the T-Mobile Arena. We need those people to buy those DAZN apps. We need those people. You know better. You're not. You have. I'm guessing. You have a better sense of what's a good fighter or what's a good fight. Canelo, again, I'm not taking nothing away from him. I think he's a hell of a fighter. He's a fighter. He's a manufactured fighter, and I don't mean that in any being a jerk or insulting him in any way. He built himself to be this way. He's a special fighter, but he was made a special fighter. And I think that's very big on his end. Let's see more on Joshua. Look, Swoop Alex asks, who is it to blame with Joshua and Wilder? I think it's not either fighter. I'm sure either fighter wants to fight. It's the handlers. Let's see, and I think that was it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think that was it. All right, guys. Like I say all the time, thank you guys for listening. Again, please don't forget to subscribe, like, view, comment. Thank you guys for listening. I wanted to do this no more than 40 minutes. I think I've accomplished that. If not, regardless, thank you so much. And this has been the Mr. Boxing Guru podcast. Thanks everyone for listening. Hasta luego.
Si quieren pueden matarme, que yo ya vengué a mis viejos. Dicen que lo fusilaron, otros que se fue muy lejos.